I was 11 when I first saw porn. I didn't know what it was, I didn't know it existed, until one of the older boys in the school playground shoved his camera phone into my face and introduced me to sex. Looking back, that was the seed that sprouted into a very serious battle with porn addiction and my own relationship with sex and sexuality that I would fight for the next 10 years at least. I went steadily from this innocent, naive, PlayStation-loving little kid into this porn-obsessed, neurotic, sexually repressed teenager. And I really, really liked girls. The issue I had was that they didn't really like me. I was bullied at school because I was overweight and I had really bad acne. So all the kids used to call me Strawberry Man and make jokes. And it's kind of funny looking back now, but those things stick with you as a kid, you know? Girls weren't exactly lining up to talk to me. And porn was my only avenue or my outlet for sexual expression, for experimentation, for discovery. And back then it was just seen as a harmless habit. Growing up, then we didn't have the science that has developed in the last 10 years. It was just seen as this laddish, boys will be boys type behaviour. Everybody watches porn, so why don't you type of thing. We didn't realise the damage that we could potentially be doing to our brains, and I quickly went from just having a curiosity into making porn the sole focus of my entire life. When I was at school, it was all I would think about. When I was at home, watching porn was all I would do. And I learned to equate sex and sexuality with shame, because there was nobody around to teach me about these things. My mum had no idea how to approach it, and my dad wasn't around. I grew up in a single parent household. There was a lot of repression and a lot of holding back expression in our family situation. I learned certain patterns of behaviour from the people around me that contributed when I was 17 to me having a nervous breakdown, because I was pushing down and repressing and denying all of these feelings, and they would just spring up at the most inappropriate moment and just destroy any harmony I had with my relationships, with my school life, with my family. And when I was 17, I went to a psychiatric unit. I just couldn't cope. I went in as a kid and I had my 18th birthday there. Came out and society deemed me a man. But I didn't know what that was, and I didn't know how to be that thing. My friends didn't want to know me because they knew where I'd been. My school didn't want to take me back. And I had nowhere to go and no plan for the future. I was deeply, deeply depressed. I felt completely hopeless. And I fell into this pit of absolute despair, where all I would do would be to just watch porn all day, drink myself half to death, and overeat. I wouldn't go out, I wouldn't shave, I wouldn't bathe. That was all I would do. And eventually it graduated to the point where I decided I was going to see an escort, because I wanted somebody to love me, even if it was just pretend, you know? So I did that. And that was when I realised the damage that porn had done to me and my sexual function. And that was one of the most embarrassing, shame-filled experiences of my life. After it was finished, I remember sitting down on a bench a couple of streets away, and I just bawled my eyes out. And I made a promise to myself that I would never do that again. I would work to understand what was going on with me, why I was acting up the way I was, why I felt the way I did. So at the age of 18, I went on an absolute mission. I spent every penny I earned on workshops, on studying about the mind, about relationships, and studying clinical hypnotherapy, EMDR, neuro-linguistic programming. I would travel to Eastern Europe to learn meditation systems. I would go to the Amazon jungle in Peru and do ayahuasca ceremonies with the shamans out there. I just wanted to absorb as much information as possible, because I felt that I was broken and I wanted to know how to fix myself. During those 5 years, there were ups and downs. There were good experiences and there were bad. You know, I did lose jobs, but then I did have experiences with girls and have relationships, however fleeting they might have been. Eventually I got to a point where I realized that the reason I was acting out, for me personally, all came back to repressing myself and hiding my sexuality and being ashamed of who I was and not knowing how to show love to myself. And from that point, everything slowly began to change. I'm not saying it was a happily ever after type of thing, but life improved for me, and it's only ever getting better. So I created Human Being Made, which is a project to give men and young guys like you, like me, the resources to be able to heal themselves and understand themselves and why their relationships are so dysfunctional. It's not just about quitting porn, guys. That's only one very, very small part of it. It's about healing from whatever emotions you may or may not realize are there in the shadow of your mind. Getting in contact with that little boy and letting him know that it's okay, that the world isn't going to hurt him anymore, that you're there for him. And then giving him back that gift of wonder and amazement and joy and expression that really is the spice of life and makes life meaningful and worth living. And then integrating that into your day-to-day relationships so that you show up in the world as a young man that's okay with himself and can find amazement in things and people and discover a whole new world that's beyond the screen. Quitting porn is just one very, very small part of it. Who are you beyond the porn? What do you enjoy? What do you connect with? What do you vibe with? It's about the process of self-discovery. And we're all still in that process. There is no quitting, but it gets more and more enjoyable every day. And that's my deepest wish for you, is that you can discover a life beyond the TV or the porn that you're watching, and you can really begin to ask yourself the deep questions and connect with the darkness inside of you, process it, and come out the other end into the light, into a world that has meaning for you.